ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. We studied about how to reflect. We studied about how to apply caution in reflection. And now we have to see what is the consequence. If you do reflection properly, then what happens is we have digested knowledge. And digested knowledge is a wonderful thing. It has various characteristics. Firstly, digested knowledge enables us to act according to that knowledge. Now, why don't you? We are so few in the class. You all can put on your videos. No, I can only see Momita's face. At least I can see her face. Thank God. Okay, what about the rest of you? Okay, why are you all in parda? Okay, at least you're feeling no, like a real life class if somebody is there to look at. Okay, so if you have digested knowledge, it has various consequences. What is that consequence? Obviously, you act according to that knowledge. You behave like that. We can all the time be talking about using our intellect, but when it comes to behavior, intellect is all out of the window. Or we can talk about how we have to be patient or whatever, anything we talk about. But when it actually comes, or giving, big thing. We have to be big givers. But when actual giving comes, then everybody has run away. So when you have to, when you reflect about it, think about it, that changes your action. Another very interesting thing that happens when you think about the knowledge is that the knowledge becomes, how shall I say, instantaneous. It's like that. It's like a flash. You put in so much effort at thinking that you don't need to think anymore. It's just instant. And that is the culmination of understanding. That is instant. You will be able to know the right answer at the speed of Shakuntala Devi. You get it. Immediately you get it. You don't think, now suppose we have to do mathematics and we say 25 into 4 is how much? Then we have to say 5 into 4 is what, 20, no? Then carry over 2. Then what was I doing? 5 to 20. But if you've done it enough, when somebody says 25 into 4, instantly you say no quickly.
100.
100. Instantly, right? You don't have to work this out in your head anymore. But if you've not done it sufficiently, then you have to work it out. That's the difference between giving getting change in India versus getting change abroad. When you go abroad and you give them, suppose your bill comes to $5.25, and he doesn't have the exact whatever. So we do all this sort of stuff. We'll say, okay, suppose it's $10.25, and you have a $20 note. Then you say, okay, all right, so you give me back $10, and I will give you 25, and they don't know what you're talking about. They just don't understand what you're talking about. But here the rickshaw will do it in 1 second. You say, okay, it's a 10 rupee bill or whatever. And then you give him, it's 10 rupees, 50 paisa. And then he says, acha, aap mujhe 20 rupees, 50 paisa dena. And then, nobody talks. Everybody just does it without batting an eyelid. Try doing that in an American superstore. They'll go completely berserk. They don't know what you're talking about. They'll start doing the mathematics around it. So, people like my father was a gold medalist in maths. And so he would multiply all sorts of numbers with all sorts of numbers. It's a very dangerous trade because when you're overseas, he instantly tells you how much this is in rupees, and then nobody can buy it. You look at anything and then he says, oh, that is that much. Because when we went to London, when I was like 12 or 13 years old, do you know that the pound was 17 rupees? You know what it is today? 100 rupees. 100. That time it was 17. And my father used to multiply that 17 times table and tell us immediately, oh, this is this much, this is this much. And of course, I never learned the 17 table, but he knew it fact like that. So when you have done it enough, remember the moral of this story, right? When you have done it enough, it comes back as a flash. And sometimes when you have done it enough, that moment of epiphany is when suddenly it's all crystal clear to you. Of course, that also happens sometimes out of fluke, in which case that moment then disappears. Then no longer there. That moment it was very clear, then afterwards it's gone. So we're not talking about that, but that moment of truth where you actually got it. So that's what this topic is currently about. So it's talking about whether this capacity for intuition, for just knowing things, can you develop it? The answer, of course, is yes. If you do it enough, you do anything enough, it becomes instinctive. Have you seen those Japanese artists, not artists, I don't know what you call them, sports people, on their bikes? Have you all seen that? They do ridiculous things on their bike. They jump and the bike also jumps, and then I don't know what they do, how they do it. How? I mean, they have no time to think. Now, one guy, he turns his bike 300, jumps up, turns the bike 360 degrees, and then comes down while the bike is in motion. Doing, you get frightened looking at those guys, and yet they're doing it. How do they do it? Simple answer: by doing it. Just by doing it. The more you do it, the more it becomes instinctive. And just as that works at the physical level, you don't think anymore. It works exactly the same at the mental level. Yeah, Komal, you had a question?
Yeah, no, ma'am, not the question. It just came to the mind like here, though all those saints and all those who are learning Upanishads and all, they say it, but I could never understand. Do it again and again and again. Just keep listening, and it will come. Like there's no need to go deep contemplation into it. Bas sunte raho, aa jayega. So I was just connecting it with it. Ki you do it enough, then it flashes.
But that is not knowledge. It will flash as memory.
Yeah.
Because sunte raho. Suppose you listen to the Hanuman Chalisa like 100 times. Then lines will come back to you. But that's not knowledge. That's memory.
Yeah. That's not understanding of it actually. Yeah. So that is also not okay, na? Just listening, something.
I mean, not okay means everything has its role.
Yeah.
Some people are not able to do work by themselves. So then they need the props, right?
Right.
You shouldn't go to them and say you're wasting time. It all depends on who is doing it, how are you doing it. If you have an intellect.
Yeah, there are many other factors along with this repetition. Yeah, thank you.
I think Jankiji presupposes that when you have to do it over and over again, you have to first get it right and then do it over and over again. Just doing it over and over again will not get you anywhere. So these bikers also, they got the technique right, they got the whole protocol right, and then they repeat it so much that now it seems that it is child's play. And how do they do it? And we wonder how can they do it. So it is taking the right elements and doing it over and over again. So knowledge plus repetition are both necessary and sufficient.
Okay. Yes, that is true, but it is not always possible to do it right in the beginning. You begin often by doing it wrong. But if you're doing it with your intellect, that's where repetition and intellect, obviously, if you're doing it with, like they show, even on the television, they show these bikers and their practice thing. 100 times they fall. They're trying to do it, but they can't do it. And they'll break a hand or a leg trying to do this. So they do it wrong. So doing it wrong is not a problem. Falling in love with doing it wrong is a problem. So we will do it, right? Then the child starts walking. He doesn't get it right. We find it so funny when you see the child first walking, right? So it's not that you do it right. It is that you do it, all the time in the strife of improvement. And then eventually it becomes Sachin Tendulkar, or now I can't say Sachin, I should say Virat Kohli. No? I'm outdated now. So then you become Virat Kohli. But obviously, when he first picked up the bat, how would he do it right? He can't.
No. So I'm not saying that you have to get it right in that sense. I'm saying there is a phase where you learn and you get it right by falling, whether as a child or as a batsman or as a biker. Once you got it and you don't repeat it, it'll still not become a part of you. When you repeat it repeatedly, the right one, having reached there, that is when it becomes instinctive. That's when it becomes a part of you per se.
Yes, repetition makes it a part of you. And and from where the repetition is done, from that will determine which part of you it has become. If it's done only from the physical body, then become only a physical. If it's from the mind, then from there. And if it's from the intellect, then from there. So from which equipment have you repeated will determine which equipment has been influenced by it. So in the case of knowledge, obviously, we have to do it through reflection. Okay, so can it be cultivated? Yes, of course it can be cultivated. How do you cultivate it? When you digest the knowledge. How do you digest the knowledge? Think. How to think? It's not mechanical repetition. It's not Parayan. If you do Parayan, you will become very good at memory because that is what you repeated. So remember where you're repeating from is what is going to be become your personality.
I just wanted to ask something. Like most of the families, they tell their children to repeat the prayer, repeat the like Hanuman Chalisa, Gayatri Mantra. In their home it is done and they are also doing. So how right it is to just keep on reciting and without understanding. तो उसमें क्या होना चाहिए? Like बच्चों को we should make them understand the meaning of it for sure?
No,
not required.
बच्चों को see, when you are a very small child, you're very moldable. Okay, I mean, of course you have your vasanas, but they may not all have come to the forefront. So children, it's great for children to learn to memorize things. Okay. Today's education says that you shouldn't memorize. Then you are making the child miss out on an important aspect of development. Children should memorize.
Memorization is okay, but simply reciting without understanding Hanuman Chalisa's meaning and all, is that okay to teach children like this?
Yes. It's meant for them. They have to learn it like that. Then at some point, once they've learned it like that, they themselves will say, what does this thing mean? That is the time you tell them what it means.
Okay. In the beginning, it's not required.
Not at all. The young children should just, Round children can memorize like this.
Yes.
So they have that. So you have to develop it, because the more you develop their memory, like in earlier times, like I was telling you about my father, right? They had to learn tables up to 25 or something. We had to learn up to 12. And today's kids don't have to learn anything.
Right.
They have everything on their fingertips.
Calculator. Yeah.
Yeah. So at that time, people said, why should you memorize? Because you have a calculator. You're not memorizing as a substitute of the calculator. You're memorizing so that your ability to remember gets better. That's what you're memorizing for. That's why they say that's why, in India, they used to give so many shlokas to memorize. Everybody had to memorize, like it or not.
Yeah, actually, why I'm asking this is because I'm parenting coach as such. So I tell parents that tell them the meaning before they memorize anything, any of prayers, whatever religion you belong to, whether Buddhism, Jainism, whatever prayer you are reciting at home, tell them the meaning of it. So I just wanted to know whether I'm right or not. Shall I tell the parents or not? Whether
no right or wrong in anything. Everything is contextual.
yeah.
Everything is what are you
Till
trying to
what age children should start understanding the meaning also? What
when
age
they,
it should be
when they question.
when they question.
Children don't grow uniformly. Like every 4 years.
Sometimes even adults don't question. They're just simply reciting because without anything.
And that's that. I mean, what can you do? There are buffaloes, there are elephants, there are tigers, there are all sorts of things, right? So that's it. They don't ask. And until you ask, you cannot be told. So memory is a very important facet. Why it is an important facet is that based on our experiences, we come to conclusions. Now, most of the time, you don't even remember the experience correctly. And so conclusions, and it's all chaos. So many people come to wrong conclusions because they don't remember what happened in the past. They don't remember it. They've forgotten. When somebody says, remember that, then they say, yeah, remember something like that. They've forgotten the experience. Now, if you don't have your data, what is your conclusion going to be? So as a child, if you have learned to memorize, to observe, to see it for what it is. What is there? There's a ball there. What is there? There's a window there. Just see it for what it is. Memorize. If you know all this much, you're that much better in adulthood. Now, what happened is, some people thought that education is only memory. So the entire school became memorizing. That's incorrect. That is what stifles growth. So that's what you have learned in your parenting thing, that you must make them think, which you must do. But it is not a replacement for memory. It is memory is one thing, and intellection is a different thing. Both have to be done.
Yeah, why I am asking is because even as adults also, sometimes you do not know the meaning of it. Simply you are reciting, and without understanding why you are doing that. That doesn't serve any purpose. That's what I feel like.
No, why doesn't it serve a purpose?
Like Hanuman Chalisa bol rahe 5 times, 7 times, reciting, and then eating something, going back. But you don't know what is this, the meaning of this recitation.
Yeah.
Why we are doing it.
You don't need to know.
Okay.
For that level that person is, a thinker will want to know.
It's not for everybody.
No, it's not for everybody. Because for a person who doesn't have a question, how are you going to force knowledge down his throat? Can't do it.
Yeah. So it's okay if they are doing it like this. I said कि ये कोई use नहीं है करने का. So I feel like that कि उसका meaning नहीं पता है तो क्यों बोलते जाना है ऐसे?
Because remember, meaning पता हो या नहीं पता हो, आप भगवान का नाम ले रहे हो. When you are taking the name of the Lord, you are in some way or the other increasing the desire for the Lord.
But that is a form of the God. No? Lord, if it is that reality or truth or what it is, that taking form's name, will it help? Just a form's name.
Because
Form or formless, like I think we discussed here also, whether we should worship the form or the formless.
Yes. There is nothing wrong or there is nothing right. For different stages, you need different things. So when you come to a Vedanta class, the assumption is that you're at X point and above. That's the assumption. And so everything is said from there.
Yeah.
So you can't, like many people say, what is the use of rituals? You know, when I was young and I heard my guru tell somebody, so he said that that lady said, I'm not interested in rituals. They don't matter to me. I mean, they leave me cold. I understand the Lord is all pervading. What am I doing this ritual for? And why am I going to this thing? And she didn't want to do it, basically. Bottom line was that. To which he told her, you may have outgrown it, but other people haven't. But if you stop this process, you will think of the Lord, but the others will never think again. So you have done them a disservice. So by repetition, by ritual, kuch bhi ho, Bhagwan ko yad, kuch bhi karo. Doesn't matter what you do. If you long as this whole culture, Indian culture, says, remember God, whatever you want to do. Some people, their life is eating meat and drinking and, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So in our temples, bhog lagta hai of liquor in our temples. Like sometimes you hear it say, hey, Bhagwan, these Hindus are all mad. Firstly, they will say liquor is bad. And then in the temple, they'll give it as prasad. Are you people all mad? They're not mad. Indian culture is very inclusive. We are not standing in judgment on anyone. All we want is you remember God. Come, whatever you're doing, you're drinking, eating, whatever you're doing.
In your own way, you do it.
As long as you remember God, you have lived up to Bharatiya. Whatever it is. Now, so this is the base. Now, that doesn't mean you who are not interested in liquor in the first place should start drinking it because bhog chadha. That's what's the problem. That we don't understand that human life is much like school. In KG, you do some things. In second, third, you do other things. In 9th, 10th, you do other things. Nobody in the 9th, 10th grade says, look at those foolish KG kids, what they're doing. For them, that is good. That is correct. They should do it. It's very inclusive, the culture. There is no good and bad. There's only levels. There's appropriate for what level. So coming back to, Bharat.
Janki, on this point of where repetition is coming from, that aspect gets strengthened. So how do we mean it exactly? Because a sports person, particularly in dangerous sport, necessarily needs to have a strong mind to go through that injury period, right? So he has a strong mind, plus he is also strengthening his body. Isn't that right?
Because he's doing it, whichever aspect he's doing it from, that aspect will be developed. Now you go to the gym. If you only go physically, then your muscles will develop. If you go with your intellect, then your muscles and your intellect can develop, because then you're thinking what you should do. Some gym goers, they're so dumb. They're so dumb. You can't have a conversation with them. Right? Why? Because they go only physically. Take cricket, for instance. Some people play cricket with their bodies. Some people play cricket with their minds. Haven't you heard they have to be strong in the mind and they have to strategize and whatever. They're playing with their mind and intellects. So that will get strengthened. Is that clear? Just because you're playing a sport doesn't mean it is your body. It is how are you playing the sport? Just with your body, or the mind and intellect are involved.
Yes, true. So how many aspects are being engaged, basically? Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, how do we develop intuition? We develop it by digesting knowledge. The more we think about it, the more we reflect upon it, and the method that we use for that. See, its repetition means it is, in our case, when we're talking about this repetition is not from the mind. This repetition is from the intellect. And the intellect doesn't repeat like the mind. What does the mind repeat? Mind repeats like, what should I say? So it says the Hanuman Chalisa, for instance, without understanding a word of what is going on. So that's the mental repetition. But when you start reflecting, maybe on the same text, maybe Hanuman Chalisa. So it says, what something? Give me some line. Bhoot Pishach nikat nahi aave. The bhoot and the pishach won't come near you.
Mahavir jab naam sunave.
So when you take Hanuman's name, now if you are using your intellect, you will say, who is this bhoot who's supposed to come? And by my saying Hanuman's name, why will that bhoot not come? What does it mean? So you think and think and think. Now it's the same thing that you're doing, but now you're repeating it with your intellect. Repeating with the intellect is reflection. And when that gets imbibed, now how to reflect you already studied, so don't ask how to reflect. But when that gets imbibed into us, then knowledge flashes on us. That's what we want. Because that gives you answers immediately. Like nobody was listening. Gives an answer immediately.
Like a flash.
Like
Shakuntala.
Like Shakuntala Devi. Instantly, she'll multiply any number by any number. So, shall we continue? Ambujam, are you new? I seem to see some new names in the class today. Ambujam, Anil Kumar. Are you all new? Anyone else? No. If you all are new and something is not clear, please feel free to ask. Okay, chalo, let us read. So intuition. We finished intuition. Yes?
Yes.
In defense of knowledge. Knowledge is knowing things as they really are, as differentiated from how they appear. Okay. What is knowledge? Knowledge is knowing something as it is, not how it appears. When you look at a mirage, you see what is not there. And your knowledge tells you that it is not there. Right? When you see the sun rise, knowledge tells you that the earth is moving, the sun, relative to the earth, is steady. Right? So knowledge is knowing things as they really are. When you say you must have self-knowledge, what does it mean? You must see as yourself as you really are, as differentiated from what you appear. Knowledge then is the ontological state. Knowledge is knowing that the sun is the center of the solar system and the earth revolves around it. But for most daily But for most daily matters, this is not very important to know. For centuries, men lived and dying knowing only so much. Only so much means knowing that the sun is rising and setting. Their lives went on fine. They went about their normal course, ate, drank, got married, made friends, fought, acquired property, had children, indulged in their hobbies, attained stature in their communities, whatever their lives was, right? They lived that whole story. There was no real need to know that the sun was at the center and the earth revolves around it. No animal knows this, and its life is in no way impaired. Knowledge of the ontological state means exactly what we said right now. That what is your understanding of that reality? Is this moving, Mahesh? Really, I can't tell.
Yeah, sorry. I've gone one paragraph ahead.
Oh, okay. Right? So, what is your understanding of reality? What is your understanding of what is really there? Actually, why should you even bother to know? Because for centuries, men have lived and died not knowing that that this is a, what is this, heliocentric universe, solar system, and not a geocentric one. Nobody knew this. But they were born, they lived, they died, they had children, they had hobbies, they had stature in their communities, whatever in the world they wanted, they got, right? Kya farak pad raha hai? That they didn't know the truth, that they didn't know how things were really. What difference does it make? Knowledge becomes important when one seeks greater control. Mahesh, we are back to the text.
Knowledge is also important to realize your own self. No? Animals can't realize, only the humans.
I have a
They
question.
can think and they want to know. That is why they only can. So it is important also. Just.
So let's go step by step. The first is,
Chandraji, I didn't get it. I didn't understand why it's the ontological state.
okay, let's look up the meaning of the word ontological. Can you look it up and read it? I can't hear you, Monica. You're muted.
Relating to the branch of metaphysics, dealing with the nature of being. Secondly, showing the relations between the concepts and categories in a subject area or domain, like an ontological database.
No, okay, ignore the second one. It's the first one. It is your understanding of what is or is not. It's like the base, right? What is your perception of what is reality? What is there? What exists? Okay, so now my perception is that the sun is rising and setting. What difference is this making in my life that it was a false one? My very base of fundamental reality is incorrect. But did it make any difference in my life? None. The people lived their lives, they got married, they were born, they educated in whatever they had education, and they got married, and they had children, and they had hobbies, and they had reputation in their community or not. they looked after their grandchildren or not, whatever on earth they did, what difference does it make? So this is one of the arguments against knowledge. We make such a big thing that we have to know what is the reality, what is the truth, what is really there, who are you? Such a fuss we are making out of it. One argument against it can be, why are you bothered? Many people will say this to you. What do you study Vedanta for? Yeah, you go enjoy life. What do you want to know? What is truth? What is God? What is this? What is that? Go have an ice cream, have Belgian waffles or something. I don't know, whatever they think you're going to enjoy. So what are you doing? Why should you want to know greater knowledge at all? Why should you want to know what is true, what is real, what exists? Why? For what? When everybody is living perfectly okay without that knowledge, means their normal life, jo bhi hai, is going on. The animal is living a perfectly okay life. The tiger is hunting whoever is hunting, and the deer is running or whatever. The whale is doing its stuff, and the plankton are doing their stuff. Whose life is interrupted because they don't have the knowledge? They don't know what is the reality. They don't know what is the truth.
But we are trying for that, no? That everybody should know it. That's why Vedanta University, that's why all these people, they are, because they want people to know all that.
No, wait. So we can't say we want you to know, so you should know. That's not an answer, right? We have to establish, why is it necessary? Why should you want to know? Why should you examine anything metaphysical in the first place? Why should you have an overall picture? For what? Why should you want to know God or reality or anything? Oh, we say knowledge. Because knowledge is the base, right? It will tell you what it really is. That's where you say knowledge is knowing things as they really are. That gives you ontological base. Okay, according to you, this is it. This is what it is. Many people have a base, all God and all is all unnecessary and waste of time. And why spend your time worrying about that? If he's there, he's there. Let him handle his life. I'm handling mine. They don't see any correlation, so we are arguing for them. Part of developing an intellect is you must be able to argue both sides. If you can argue only one side, that usually means that's what you want to believe. I used to have a friend who used to do that. We'll argue furiously about something and then say, okay, now let's switch sides. You must have the intellectual capacity of being able to examine an idea without agreeing to it.
So our true nature, the nature of being, is something that only very few people in any society will want to know.
So we have to say, why should you want to know? They can ask us, why do you want to know?
But then how is that the original state of being? Because
original is, now you have to assume that we don't know reality, which is a fact. None of us know reality, right? So we have our own ontological states. We have our own concept of what is the reality, what exists, what doesn't exist. Some people say God exists, some people say God doesn't exist, some people say he may exist or he may not exist. I'm not interested either way. Each or everything. I mean, some people have nothing to say about it, and some people say what exists is promotions and whatever targets and promotions, and each one has his own world that he's living in. Now we are saying knowledge tells you what is really there. So obviously the question is, why should I know? Who knows? Nobody knows, right? But everybody's living a fine life. So why am I wasting my time trying to find out what is there and what is not? So there's an answer. Don't worry. We have not finished the topic. So don't get things like it's answering the question. Don't worry. We don't leave people high and dry.
yeah, no, so I was just thinking about the word ontological, the original knowledge, the nature of being itself.
Mm-hmm.
So If knowledge is the ontological state, that
Is-
is,
yeah, recognition of what it really is. If it is metaphysical, then metaphysical it is. If it is not, maybe it is not, right? Maybe it is only physical. We are
so
willing
when knowledge, so knowledge is the ontological state only for the seer, only for the self-realized person, right?
your knowledge, that's what the book says. I mean, that's the basis of the book, right? That your theory determines your world. Whatever your concept of it is, that is your world. That is your larger paradigm, or your larger or maybe unconscious assumption from which everything else is going to work. Like, for instance, suppose a person believes that what is here, okay, only thing of relevance over here is money. Now, he doesn't actually say these words to himself or to anyone else. That's a inherent assumption in him. So therefore, every action, every thought, every emotion will stem from that. So that will be for him the state of reality. That's his state of reality, or that's his comprehension of reality. But what we are saying is that's what appears to him, but knowledge is.
So what he is experiencing, the person who is thinking that money is the most important thing, he has a subjective understanding. But someone who has real knowledge understands the nature of being as it is.
Yes, it's the purpose of knowledge to take you to the real nature of being. So you are close to it. So you are
the objective reality is knowledge.
The closer
it is independent of anybody's.
You can't ever say that. The closer your perception is to the reality, whatever you say is your perception. Knowledge is yours. So it's your perception, it's your theory, it's your everything. But the closer it is to what is really there, the more it is accepted as knowledge in the sense of right knowledge. But there's no such thing as wrong knowledge, so therefore we say knowledge. It's all your perception, right up to enlightenment. Only enlightenment is the state which is not your perception.
Thank you.
Okay, so knowledge becomes important when one seeks greater control. Okay, that's why you need knowledge. When you want greater control. The more one understands it, the greater the control possible. Control over what? Control over the future. Knowledge becomes important when one seeks greater control. The more one understands it, the greater the control possible. Humans wanted to control their lives. They were not content to die when nature wanted, to wake up and sleep when nature wanted, to mate and age when nature wanted, to live as and where nature wanted. They chose to know if the boundaries of nature could be transcended. Thus, they needed to know how things really were. While information helps in this, it is manana that gives the real understanding. A mechanical thought process gives rise to a mechanical life. To eke out the complete fulfillment life has to offer, we will need to know more. Is that clear? Knowledge becomes important when we want greater control. What are you going to have control on? We're going to have control on the future. Because what will knowledge tell you? Knowledge will tell you, remember we studied what it is, and if I do something to this thing now, it will become that. You remember that portion? We've already studied. Everyone's clear? Was anyone not there? Is this portion not clear for any reason? So when you want greater control, right, you don't want things to happen in any which way. If you want that greater control, you will require greater knowledge. Why are you seeking the greater control? Because only when you have the greater control, you will have the greater fulfillment. If you just stay the way you are, you will have the contentment you currently have. But if you say, no, I want it better for the future, then you will have to do something right now so that that future is going to be better. Okay. So I know most of you will say when you should have greater control, most of you would have answered by saying you should have greater control over yourself. Did you all answer in your mind like that? But think about it. Why do you want greater control over yourself? Eventually, what's the point of the greater control over yourself? When you have greater control over yourself, what will happen?
You
Become
will be
happier.
happy, which is what you are always looking for. Anything and everything is for that.
Less desire.
You are changing something for the future. You can't do anything now, right? But you can change something for the future. This moment is your destiny. It is what it is.
You can better manipulate your environment also with more knowledge.
Yes, but for what end and purpose? When you manipulate your environment, you're changing something for the future. So you're by doing anything now, you are controlling the future. That's the attempt anyway. Everybody wants to control the future. The closer your knowledge is to the reality, the better you will have control over it. So when you say, I'm going to control myself, okay, say, you are irritating me. I'm going to control myself. So why am I going to control myself? Because by controlling myself, I hope that my future will be better than if I don't control myself now. If you irritate me and I keep shouting at you, my future may get worse, because then you will do something and I will do something and life will get worse. So everything you're doing is for the purpose of controlling something in the future. Remember, this moment is what it is for everybody. You are where you are right now. Your only change is for the future. Now, whether you will make it properly or not properly will depend on
Knowledge.
In the sense how closely you've understood what the reality is. Okay, how are you all doing? Especially new, old, everybody, this is a bit of a mental toss-up. How are you all doing? Clear, not clear? Any questions?
So I'm having this thought that we said initially in the example that people didn't know that the sun was revolving, the earth was revolving around the sun, and it made no difference to their lives. Today, from there, we have come to understanding the environment so well that we can take an object, sit on it, and land in the moon. So all this information we have. So that's why we can control our future. Like what, I mean.
Okay, I understand. You're saying, okay, so now we know. So what difference have we done? Like that, right?
No, I'm saying that we are able to control, we are able to decide what we want to do. We can do more things. We don't have to. I mean,
no,
from one planet, we've jumped to the
another one. Yes, we have more options.
I feel it's a good thing in the sense that, yeah.
No, but think about it a little bit more. You'll realize that the reason we can have this class today is because of that space program.
Yes.
Or otherwise, this technology would not be available. It becomes available for those things, and then it becomes popular, and then we all get this as well. So the more you understood the real nature, that's what science does, right? The more it understands the real nature of things, the more it manipulates it, and then we have something comes out of it. Like this class, for instance, we wouldn't have this internet and we wouldn't have a Zoom class had they not done whatever they had done.
Yes. So in that way, it's a good thing that we are controlling more and more, and we are predicting our future, and we are not making mistakes in so many other areas.
No, we are making mistakes.
Because our knowledge.
No, we are making mistakes galore that you can look outside and you'll see mistakes galore. But that's because our perception and reality are not matching. Whenever it does match, that aspect will work properly. Where it doesn't match, all hell will break loose.
Thank you.
Yeah, Bharat.
Yeah. So, the need for higher knowledge, particularly spiritual knowledge, in order to gain better control over future, would this answer satisfy a materialist? I mean, he might say that I have enough control with me as of now, so why do I bother to stretch myself?
Well, he's most welcome to make that choice. And if he cannot understand now, the future is coming. It's not very far away. We'll say, I mean, that's what people say. I mean, it's not that, what shall I say? That is the most common stance anyone will take. That I'm fine the way I am. Well, then wait till you become unfine and then take it up. What should we do? You either take it up as a prevention or you take it up as a cure. What else can we say? We can't convince anyone, Bharat. If we knew the way of convincing people that they should take it up, would be we just few of us today in the class. We would have burst through Zoom. People would be saying, "Oh my God, you better take a bit bigger Zoom thing," and we would say, "Okay, maybe we have to take a bigger Zoom, whatever this thing you have to take is." But we never have that problem, do we? No, we can take 100 people. Do we ever have these problems? Oh my God, people can't enter class because our Zoom, whatever membership or whatever it is only for 100 people. That's what everybody says. Then sometimes they meet with the problems that they do meet and say, oh hell, I should have done this earlier. Sometimes they meet with the problems they meet, but they still don't get it. So what do you say? What do you say? No, yes, you're right. It will not satisfy materialists. He will have to learn through experience. We've already done this, right? If you do not understand through knowledge, you will understand through experience. And some people will not even understand through experience, in which case you'll have to give it time. In the Gita, it says, remember, can anyone remember what it says in the Gita?
Tamasic knowledge, right?
Yeah, so give the example he gives. I love that example because it's so
Fetus in a womb.
wonderful.
Fetus in a womb.
Fetus in a womb. What are you going to do? Just what are you going to do? But just wait 9 months till that thing comes out. There's nothing else you can do. Can you just say, okay, no, I want a child right now. Let's just do a cesarean and remove the child. What? You can't do anything. Cesarean, natural birth, whatever it is, 9 months you wait. So some people learn through knowledge. Some people have to go through the experience. And some people just have to give it time. Ab kya kare? So I don't know if I'm answering your question. Will a materialist agree to this? No, he won't. He will agree when he meets the experience, or he may not even agree after that. That also you've all seen.
Good luck, materialist.
Huh?
I said good luck to materialist. Rather depressing.
Yeah, there's nothing we can do. I mean, it may break our hearts, but what can you do? I mean, everybody in this class has at some point, or everybody who I've spoken to at least at some point or the other told me about somebody who they can see is making a mistake, knows that this person will have terrible repercussions if they do this thing, see that person do it, see that person get the repercussions. Sometimes that person will come back to you and say you were right. Sometimes they will still not agree. What can you say? Yes, it's totally heartbreaking. But, we can only, give ourselves solace by saying that, well, we're doing everything we can. If we're doing everything we can, now what else can we do? Can't do anything. That's the way the cookie crumbles. And if you feel very bad for yourself, then remember Swamiji and say that Swamiji is putting up with us, who he thinks are all complete idiots. And he's not saying anything to anybody. And that difference is much more. Then we who have a lesser difference should just gulp and bear it. Because what else can we do? We're already doing all we can. Okay. So I hope this topic is clear, in defense of knowledge. Okay, so why do we have to have this topic in defense of knowledge? Whole thing was about what to do to gain knowledge. But somebody can easily answer this question and say, but what do you want it for? What is the need? Why don't you people just chill and enjoy yourselves? Go to the pub, have fun, go to the club, go here, go there, go see Great Wall of China, go see, I don't know, Niagara Falls or something. What are you people wasting your time doing this? You look at young Vidushi and say, why is young Vidushi doing this? She can have so much fun, she can do this, she can do that. But she can't. So many people can tell us, no, you should go and enjoy yourself. But this is my enjoyment, मैं क्या करूं? I cannot go and enjoy all the things you all are telling me to go and enjoy. You all will understand that. You can relate to this thing. No, Vidushi, you're so young. Now you go get married and have children. And I don't know what else. Somebody can tell her that, right? And she is young, and of course, she should get married and she have children, and no objection to any of those. But there is something else that bothers us. That's why we're here now. Because we are determined to find out what on earth is that thing. And the more we understand about it, the better, the more comfortable we feel. It's like a breath of fresh air every time you understand something or you associate with it or something. For those who are seekers, you always feel that. For those who are non-seekers, they will say, but why do you want all this knowledge? So for the non-seekers, we give the explanation that the closer your perception matches to reality, the more you're in control of your
your life.
Future. Your future. What is the future going to be? You can control only if your knowledge is correct. If the knowledge is incorrect, if you don't understand, for instance, what geometrical progression or cumulative interest means, you find yourself in poverty later on. If you don't understand what it means to be able to gulp down a few things which are uncomfortable, then be prepared to cry in the future. So in defense of knowledge is, the greater the knowledge, the more the control over the future. more the control over the future, the more likelihood of content. Okay, so that's it for today. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you, Janki ji.
Hari Om. Thank you,
Hari Om,
Janki.
Janki ji.
Thank you.
Hari Om, thank you.
Hari Om.
Yeah.